The year is 2024. It has been 10 days since the Say reporters have recorded an episode. Let's see if they remember how to do this. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Say Report. I'm your host, Devon, and joining me an AI program to sound like my dear old friend Sejohn. Sejohn.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Yeah, we are here. I haven't seen you since last year, old man.
Yes, true. You already broke me. You broke me when you didn't put on like a beep a boop before you talked, or like semi-robot voice.
No, it was an AI program. It was working perfectly because it was the future. I don't understand. Why would it be broken?
I don't know. Because the future broken Paycheck. Remember when we talked about Paycheck? That was a pretty good episode. All right, so now we're going to cut, and we're just going to put in the Paycheck episode, and we're home for the day. No, hi. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first official episode of 2024. It is our 364th episode overall, which means that we're like one episode shy of officially recording for 7 full years. Also means that like we're right there before the season finale of season 7. And for me, I'm Devon Decker, and he's Sejohn Sarowick, current P.I of Asia. It's a real good time, I think, to look back at the weeks that we have been on Ninja Christmas and Ben Affleck vacation.
Yeah.
Because some things happened that are important to talk about. Some personal things happened that are worth talking about. I don't know. I honestly, Sejohn, I feel like an idiot saying it. I kind of forgot how to do the show.
We bolt through Christmas with a bunch of pre-recorded stuff because, to be entirely honest, we just wanted a week off.
Well, and also the fact that Christmas fell on a Monday. So it'd be like, let's record on Christmas Eve and then release on Christmas Day. Like, no, let's just do it. But then we always kind of do that for Christmas. So then we're like, let's do it 2 weeks then. Because if we do it for 2 weeks, then it will actually feel like a vacation. And then it's like, but then there's just one more week before the end of the year. Maybe we just record a third one too. And then we just like have an extended vacation, which would have worked perfectly if not for the fact that on December 19th, one day before we were originally scheduled to record our Paycheck episode, Devon Decker took a bite of a chicken tender from Popeyes and felt like he had been punched in the genitals via his mouth.
Not just a punch in the mouth, but punch to the genitals via your mouth.
Via my mouth.
That's a hell of a punch.
Yeah, it freaking hurt like a bastard. I knew that something was going on with my teeth. I knew that I was having some teeth problems. And I put it to the fact that there was a bowl of candy, and it was like unwrapped candies, like M&Ms, right? Okay. So I reached in and grabbed a handful, threw it in my mouth.
I don't know why, when you said unwrapped candy, I didn't think of things like M&Ms that obviously people pour M&Ms into bowls or jelly beans, right? No, my thought was, why the fuck did somebody go through and unwrap a bunch of like Hershey's Kisses and Reese's?
Well, that's interesting you should say Hershey Kisses, because I don't know if it was an anarchist who filled the candy bowl looking to damage somebody, or they just kind of dumped the M&Ms on top of the existing detritus that was already in the candy bowl. But I reached in deep enough that in my handful of M&Ms, I got a Hershey's Kiss. I got a wrapped Hershey's Kiss. And I threw those in my mouth, and then I'm chewing.
And then you're chewing on tinfoil.
And then I'm chewing on tinfoil. And I'm like, wow, what the fuck was that? And then I'm like, oh, okay. Some asshole put a Hershey Kiss in with the M&Ms, the hand food you grab a handful of and don't really look at afterwards, unless you're Matthew McConaughey in The Wedding Planner. He only eats the brown ones because chocolate's already brown.
The two things, okay. The two things I will say about this is, like, were you just putting your mouth over it and just sucking it all down? Like, how big of a handful were you grabbing?
No, I mean,
the other thing I will say
A relatively shallow bowl. Hand grab, throw.
Hand grab, throw. Go. Yeah. Got it.
But what's the other thing?
The other thing is, what's the old phrase go? Never attribute to malice. That could be attributed to stupidity, right? Or in this case, probably more likely laziness, right? Like, I don't think anybody was doing it, like, thinking, oh, yeah, this will fuck them up.
No, exactly. I don't think that it was like an anarchist cookbook addendum, right? Put M&Ms over Hershey Kisses, watch the hilarity.
I've done some petty stuff on my way out of the office for a break or so. Like, I definitely had those moments where I'm just like, I remember very specifically leaving an office one day. In fact, I think it might have been for COVID when I was leaving that office. And I noticed that the woman next to me had left just all of her, like, what do you call it? The food, but
Snacks?
Like snack packs and stuff like that. I was trying to think of the goofy term that kids are using these days for work nosh, but whatever. But like she had all of her like work snacks still there, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking like, well, we're leaving for at least 2 weeks. You should probably take those, right? And like, there was just this little petty part of me because of some stuff that had gone down that I was just like, nah, I don't need to be the guy to be on top of that, right? Like that's not my responsibility.
Yeah, the universe will take care of this.
I could definitely see. Yeah, and I could definitely see refilling the candy bowl being at that level of like, I'm not going to put that much thought into this.
Yeah. Oh, I was just asked to refill the candy bowl, and we have M&Ms now. I'll just dump them in. You don't check it. So again, I believe that it's more just the serendipitous nature of stupidity on both parts, right? You should not just put your hand into a random bowl of candy and swallow without checking it. That's like,
it's fucking wild that we could go places and there's just open bowls of candy that we've all just accepted as a cool thing for us to dip our hands into.
Yeah.
Like, that's nuts, right?
Yes, one would imagine that would have gone away. And then, like, the fact that, like, I'm pretty cautious since COVID. So, like, the fact that I'm just like, ooh, M&Ms. And then, I'm an idiot. I get, like, instant karma is what happens there. But like, so my tooth hurt after chewing on tinfoil, but I'm like, but it can't be that big a deal. And I have a cleaning on the 22nd anyway. So while I have a dentist, a hygienist doing my teeth, I can say, hey, can you check out, my lower teeth on my left-hand side? Because I accidentally chewed on some tinfoil. Probably wouldn't tell, though. In fact, when I did eventually tell her, I said we had gotten sandwiches at work, and there was a little bit of foil still left on it that I had missed when I was unwrapping it. So I ended up biting into tinfoil.
So, man, this conversation is like hurting me, so I apologize. There's somebody out there right now that cannot listen to this.
Yeah.
But did the tinfoil cause the issue, or was the tinfoil something that like a canary in a coal mine like figured out there was something else going on?
So I'm not sure, because it was like I was taking ibuprofen, not like in like any sort of crazy quantity, but like 2 every 4 hours, just like to manage what was a dull pain, knowing I have a dentist appointment coming in 4 days. Life will go on. I took a bite of that chicken tender, and like, oh my friggin' God, the pain was, I can't even describe it. Like, I am incapable. Punched in the genitals via the mouth is literally the best way that I can describe it to you.
All right.
It was
that
sharp.
Sucks, man.
It was targeted. And I'm like, oh God. So I go and I buy, this is a good story. This is a Consumer Report story. Walgreens, for some reason, was having buy one, get one 50% off on like everything in the store. So I went to buy ibuprofen, and it was like 1,000 pills for about 2 cents a pill. So I got it on that. I ended up paying like less than a penny a pill for 2,000 ibuprofen.
Pop that shit like Flintstones vitamins as you walk into the street.
Like, whoo.
You'll never be sick again.
I mean, not totally intention, and then we are not medical professionals. Do not listen to the opinions and suggestions of Sejohn Sarowick to never be sick again. But
no. Devon's just invincible. He could feel no pain from going. Well, I guess that doesn't mean you're invincible, right? Feeling no pain doesn't
feeling
mean you
the pain doesn't mean you're
just
invincible. Also, if you're invincible, can you do anything about it? Like, they can't pierce your gums to get the Novocaine in. That's one of my favorite complaints about Superman Returns, and clearly it comes from a customer. This guy got shot in the eye. He has flown into fire, and his suit has been fine. But when he is stabbed with the kryptonite, spoilers for Superman Returns, but when he's stabbed by the kryptonite, regular medical scissors cut right through his friggin' suit. And my response was, Yeah, because he was stabbed by kryptonite. The kryptonite also weakened the fibers in the suit. You answered your own complaint there, sir.
Yeah, we know kryptonite's radioactive, so if anything in the area is going to react to it, it
would be his suit that is also magical. Well, not magical, but from a different biological sphere.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like so much.
It's not magic, it's science.
It's science. I mean, it's biophysiology.
I'm sorry, you expect us to get this right? No.
No, again, do not listen to the same report.
I'm no longer trying to be that guy.
I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so just immense pain. And then, like, the next day I woke up and I was still in that pain. Like, honestly, the level of pain when my appendix burst and I could not walk. Like, that was the level of pain that my mouth was in. So I called the dentist and I'm like, I got to get looked at. So they bring me in, they do an x-ray. And, like, immediately they're like, yeah, so you got to go see a specialist. And, okay, so I'll go see a specialist. So I called the specialist, and they're like, well, Christmas, so we're not going to be able to see you till next year. So I'm like, okay, but, like, when next year? Because I'm in a lot of pain. You asked me if it's an emergency. I don't feel qualified to determine if it's an emergency. But if you're asked, I would say, yes, it's an emergency. Because I can't sleep. I like the pain is near constant. So they made an appointment for me for the 2nd of January 2024. And I think that everything's going to be good until the 2nd of January 2024, where I show up and they're like, hi, so funny story. You've already had a root canal on that particular tooth there. And I'm like, yeah, I'm aware of that. And they're like, so we need to have a consultation with you to see if you're even eligible for surgery to fix it. So I'm like, all right, cool, that's fine. So I'm not having surgery today. That's all right. Let's get to the consultation. They're like, oh, we're not going to be able to do that consultation until the 9th. I'm at the office. You had intended to, like, operate on me.
Right. The time was already going to be dedicated to you. Why does it matter whether or not you're knocked the fuck out or not?
Yeah. So I have an appointment from the day that goes to the next day to finally get this looked at. But it kind of bummed me out because, like, my birthday happened. And I'm like, oh, my tooth will be all fixed up. I don't need to worry about what I eat. They put me on amoxicillin. So that healed up the tooth infection that had happened. Which that makes me believe, like, even the hygienist, when I mentioned the tinfoil, she's like, oh, yeah, that could have cut into it. Or if that got, like, under there, that totally would have caused an infection. You're probably right with, like, that is what caused this. So that felt pretty good. And I'm like, all right, cool. Well, I will never eat tinfoil again. Let me tell everybody that. Because once you've walked through some fires, you never want to walk through them again. But yeah, so I was nervous that I couldn't go as hard as I wanted on my birthday, and because it was supposed to be handled. But then I'm also a little mad at them because I called them and I said, hi, I have a referral from my dentist to retreat my tooth. So I gave them the knowledge that it had already been treated. The fact that they I don't know, and I had to sit through there. We'll see you next year. Okay.
So are you? How you doing, bud? Are you sitting here in pain? What's going on?
No. So I didn't even take ibuprofen this morning. I've been actually pretty good. The pain itself broke on Christmas Day. I was a miserable fucking asshole leading up to Christmas Day because everybody's trying to be holly and jolly, and I'm sitting there can you please pass the candy cane themed pliers? I'm pulling this tooth out. I can't deal with the pain right now. But that broke on Christmas Day, and I've been in pretty good spirits since. But it's just the fact that you're told that something's going to happen, and, you don't want to exacerbate the situation, right? I look up tooth infections. They're like, don't drink water that's too hot, but also don't drink water that's too cold, but only drink water. Good luck figuring out the baby bear recipe on the perfect temperature of water.
I mean, it's not hard. It's tap warm or whatever, man.
Yeah, but it's also
don't go boiling your shit.
Yeah, but it's also
honestly,
winter.
That sounds like that'd be soothing as hell. But
what was that? Boiled water?
But warm water, but
Yeah, but warm water sounds good, but if it's an infection within the tooth and the crack is still open, that just increases the growth of bacteria. Where like cold water, if it's a viral infection, and they just say it's a tooth infection, right? So I don't know which type it is. Cold water increases the longevity of viruses.
Why are we not taught how to fucking talk to medical professionals anymore? Yeah. Like, why is that? When I do you know what I remember from health class? I remember the one day that we watched A Beautiful Mind. That's what I remember from health class in high school. Why was that not a time for them to talk to us about, like, here are the kinds of questions you should be asking when you sit down with a physician? Like, here's how you get through things like medical insurance and stuff. Like, why the hell is this such a mystery to us that we can't, that we don't feel like confident that we could like talk to somebody and get solid information from them?
I don't know. It's like, can I see the x-ray? And they're like, no, you don't want to see the x-ray. And I'm like, but I kind of do, because it kind of sounds like your little assistant threw up when she looked at it. Like, I don't know what to feel about this. And then even when my hygienist, she's like, oh, I'm going to look at your x-ray since I'm going to be cleaning your teeth. I still was able to get my teeth cleaned, which was an interesting, like, magugga of the whole thing. And she looks at it and she goes, oh, yeah, you're definitely in pain. This is from 2 days ago? Oh, yeah. I would be surprised if the amoxicillin has kicked in yet. Like, oh, okay, thank you.
Oh, no. Oh, man.
So, yeah.
Well,
so it's
I'm
just
sorry that life is still kicking you in the nuts via the teeth.
We'll have more to tell of it, but, I mean, it's been a thing that's been going on. I've done a lot of other stuff as well, because I've just been sitting at home nursing the tooth, which has been nice, right? Like, to make sure that I'm not out there. And I beat some games, I watched some movies, I finished some stuff. So there's other stuff to look back on, but I did need to share that the big saga of my Christmas was my tooth. And you also have a lot of time to like go back and think while you're just sitting there recovering. I have had a lot of medical issues at Christmas. So like, It's kind of not surprising that Christmas is not my absolute favorite time of the year, because there's some real sad memories that come alongside the happy ones.
Yeah, man, we had a little bit of a lost Christmas on this end too. The fam was traveling Christmas Day, and then when they got back into town, like instantly they were travel sick, you know, because that's the big thing is like everybody's getting like super travel sick because we haven't actually been out in the world for 5 years, right? And now like, so they were kind of super travel sick, so I took care of them for a little bit, but then like, of course I caught it from them. So then I was like sick with that bug as they were kind of getting better. So there was like 7 or 8 days there where we were just, we were all down various points. Like one day I was horizontal, the next day I was standing up, but somebody else was horizontal, you know, like it was a mess. So we ended up not really doing too much either, except just kind of like, you know, consuming a bunch of nonsense.
Excellent. So it seems like us planning a little sabbatical for Christmas 2023, Christmas and New Year's 2023, let's be honest about it, was the right choice. And we're happy to be back here recording the Say Report for you. I'm going to start with something, Siege, and I'm a little mad at you.
Okay. New Year, same shit. What's going on, man? What did I do this time?
I'm drinking a Mountain Dew Kickstart Black Cherry to kickstart the episode in this morning and the new year. But you know what it's in?
Mountain Dew Tall Boy, yeah?
It's Mountain Dew Tall Boy, and it's in a Yeti Tall Boy Colster. You friggin' bastard. It is Say Report Yellow, which might be my favorite part of it. And it's keeping this drink super cold, and it's keeping my hand not cold, which is nice. Like, I understand koozies now. Kinda.
Yeah, did you get in on the collector's item or what?
I did get in on the collector's item. In fact,
nice.
I went so hard. I mean, my birthday happened. I had a little bit of extra birthday money. So this was purchased with birthday money, as was a 12-ounce Slim, which has been really great for something else we're going to talk about this episode. And I got a 12-ounce for, like, regular soda cans. But the color I wanted, I had to order it to be shipped. I couldn't just, like, pick it up in a store. And it came without the insert can, where I can have my weed in this. Someone said that. Some great philosopher said that. So I was like a little bummed about it.
I hate your impression of me. I'm sorry. Keep going.
You should have done robot noises. I have 2 impressions of you, Sejohn, and I know which one to whip out. And it's when you don't do robot noises that number 2, Mr. Middle Finger Sejohn voice comes out. So the one that I received that got shipped to me didn't have the insert can. So I went to Yeti's website to be like, yo, did I get screwed by this retailer? Because I bought it from an approved Yeti retailer. And then they have an AI as well. And it's like, actually, in an effort, and I sent you the whole response thing, they're not doing those inner cans anymore. So I was lucky enough to get it for my 16 ounce and my 12 slim, but not for my regular 12. But it has been real fun drinking stuff because do you know what else happened? And I just had no idea until a friend brought it to my attention.
Wait, with the Yeti thing?
No.
With something else entirely?
With beverage technology.
No, what has happened?
Monster has released a hard Monster.
Oh.
Now I know what you're thinking. You're having dreams of 4 loco fairies dancing in your head, but there's no.
Don't break my heart. You just brought me back to life, Devon. Don't do this. What are you about to say?
There's no caffeine, taurine, or guarine in it.
So then, what makes it a monster?
Do you know the flavor of original green cans of Monster? Because I went on a bit of a deep dive to try to figure that out.
Wasn't it just Mountain Dew, but then like it had it off flavor because of all of the shit you just mentioned? So I feel like they just brought it back to Mountain Dew. Like that's where I'm at right now. Am I mistaken in the original flavor of Monster?
They call it sweet and salty. That's literally what they describe the flavor as.
But what, like, there's not like a name for it. It's just I guess Monster is the flavor and sweet and salty is the profile.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna read it right from their thing. Da 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 da.
I will take the time here while you're looking for that to point out that like electrolytes are salt, so like if they were making a drink about like hydration but at the same time energy, which is kind of like what these things try and sell you on, all of it's bullshit by the way. Like I'm not even sure it actually gives you any type of like energetic boost anymore. You know, if it wasn't for these kids freaking dying from the Panera Bread Lightning lemonade, then I don't know if I would believe that any of the stuff even bothers to be energetic anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so the saltiness, sorry, what I was saying is the saltiness and the flavor profile actually does kind of make sense in a weird way, but it's not the way you want somebody to sell you on a Mountain Dew drink.
Yeah, they're very much talking about the fact that Monster Wheat flavor specialists designed the profile. Tear into a can of one of the meanest energy drinks on the planet. Monster OG, Monster Energy OG is smooth, refreshing blend of sweet and salty exotic citrus flavors with a hint of pure adrenaline, packing 160 milligrams of caffeine. Unleash the beast with Monster OG. Flavor profile, sweet and salty. Hyphen, it tastes like Monster.
Okay. Okay, so they're trying to do the Dr. Pepper thing. Like, that's what they're trying to do there.
Exactly.
But I have to ask one question. In that description, at some point, it sounded like they tried to imply that tropical citrus fruits, there are tropical citrus fruits you can find that are known to be salty.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what they're trying to say.
I'm not a worldly man. Maybe there's something I'm missing here. And if somebody could tell me a salty citrus fruit, I would really be curious to try that someday.
All right. There's your homework, listeners of this report.
Natural. I mean, natural. I don't mean somebody out there that's just like, they GMO'd some shit together and, like that's like, it's a grapple. I get it.
Yeah. So it's one of those situations. So they've done a hard version of that. It's called Beast Unleashed. That's what they went with for the flavor of Hard Monster. You can get this one in Rhode Island because I guess Beast Unleashed is far enough removed from Hard Mountain Dew and kids are not going to buy it. I can't even, oh man, there's this idea that they are leaning into this idea that they think people drink Monster for the flavor. And I just don't, that can't possibly be true. Not least of which because I don't actually think in the wild I have seen a regular ass Monster in. Maybe this is a Utah thing or something. The Mormons do love their energy drinks, so maybe it actually is. But the big thing out here is the Monster Zeros, and specifically there's like a white can. I don't know what the flavor is on it because I don't drink that shit. I drink regular Monster like a big boy. But so it's not so they clearly don't like the flavor of original Monster to the point that that's not what is like I see being drank a lot. Maybe this is what they're doing with all the regular Monsters since they can't seem to sell it to anybody. I don't know. So I was out picking up sandwiches and there's a liquor store next to it. Oh, it's got a hilarious name, but I can't remember what it is right now. Maybe it'll come back to me and I can share it. If not, I'll have it for you next week. And they have the variety pack. It's Monster the Beast Unleashed Hard Seltzer Variety Pack. So you get 3 of each of these 4 tasty flavors: Mean Green, Peach Perfect, Scary Berries, and White Haze.
Now, you left out a very important piece of information this entire time until just this moment. These are not just alcoholic monsters, but they are in fact hard seltzers.
They do not taste like any seltzer that I have ever had.
Yeah, but that's what it says on the package, though.
That's
it says hard seltzer.
Package. It says it's hard seltzer. Yeah.
That is fucking wild. I mean, you know what that has to be? Legitimately, that has to be some legalese nonsense of like, this is a way we can get away with doing this. Is that if we classify ourselves specifically as this, there's certain things that we can do with like the flavoring, there's certain things we can do with the alcohol level, there's certain things we would do with where it's marketed and how it's marketed. Like, the only reason that you would call yourself in this situation that I could see PepsiCo, Mountain Dew out there being like, oh, let's go with a hard seltzer for this one, is that it has to be because some legal department guy was like, this will make things a little bit easier in the long run.
Yeah. It's 6% alcohol. Looking through it. Also, the name of that liquor store it just hit to me is Liquid Assets.
Nice.
I felt like I'm in an episode of Bob's Frickin' Burgers.
Man, you know what every liquor store out here is called? State Store Liquor DBS 1570 or State Store Liquor DBS 145. Like, there's no fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I bet they're not all 1570. I bet they all have a distinct number.
Right, but like you walk into them and it is kind of dystopian.
It sounds it. I bet there's just gray walls.
Yeah,
cinder block walls.
With a bunch of libertarians out here. No, we're not going to get into that. But anyway,
no, let's save the politics for not the day after January.
You know what? It's 2024. There's definitely going to be some politics at some point. Today is not today. You were right.
Well, let's save it for later episodes. I mean, there were politics and paycheck. Let's just be honest about it. So I picked it up. So far, I've only tried 2 of them. I've had the Scary Berry, which was excellent. And then I had to do it, Sejohn. I had to unleash the beast. And here we come to Devon Decker as the Bachelor Chef, Mixology Edition. Here's what you need to try. First, get yourself a large soda from Mountain Dew. From Taco Bell. I got a Mountain Dew. That glass, that plastic cup from Taco Bell, is the perfect size for what I'm going to tell you to do with the rest of this recipe. Get yourself a Mean Green Monster Beast Unleashed Hard Seltzer and a 16-ounce can of Green Monster. Apparently that's difficult in Utah. I apologize to all of our listeners in Utah. Pour it, after emptying the large drink from Taco Bell, pour in the Beast Unleashed, and then pour in the 16-ounce Monster. It filled right below the brim. It was beautiful. And then consume it together, because that is how you truly unleash the beast.
That is 32 ounces of insanity. Just going to warn everybody out there that that's what you're doing to your body.
It's 28. It's 16 plus 12.
28. All right, yeah, okay.
let's 4 ounces left there for Jesus.
First of all, you mentioned the Utah thing, and I will say that we will probably never see this out here. They don't. This is the kind of shit that they like flag immediately because it looks too much like it's being sold to kids or it's too much fun. Like they don't. This will not hit shelves in Utah. If I'm wrong, I get to drink this Mountain Dew, liquor of the gods, but like
ambrosia liquor.
Yeah. But if I'm right, and I bet I am on this one, we will probably never see that on shelves in Utah. But the other thing is, I just like, again, the hard seltzer thing also does give them a way to just do whatever the fuck they want flavor wise. Because at this point, if you told me, like, if you handed me a Mountain Dew hard seltzer, I wouldn't expect it to taste like Mountain Dew, right? And immediately the hard seltzer aspect of it gives them a complete out in that regard as well. Man, this is. I'm not surprised I hadn't heard about this because of the fact that I live in Utah, but this is a wild way to start out 2024 Mountain Dew.
You need to well, it's Monster. It's Monster. Monster is by Coca-Cola. It's not owned by. They're
Oh, I
separate
thought
companies.
Monster was the Mountain Dew one. What's the Mountain Dew?
Mountain Dew has like Kickstart or Spiked, which is not hard. Like I'm doing a Mountain Dew Kickstart. I understand how that could have thrown you off because that's what I just drank right now. But no, Monster is owned by
Maybe
the
that's what it
Coca-Cola
was.
company. Yeah, it's
Oh yeah,
completely
yeah.
understandable,
Kickstart
yeah.
is the Mountain Dew one.
Yeah.
That's the way. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's got real juice in it. It's got 5% juice in it. And black cherry juice, apparently that's good for gout, according to the doctors to my father. But yes.
It's all cola, man.
It's all the same basic thing. It just depends on how many dogs swim around in it. But yeah, so that whole thing, and I will say this, mixing the two together, I could not have told you which was which. Like flavor profile wise, color wise, they look the same. And I stayed up till 4 a.m. I drank that at 11 a.m. and I didn't sleep till 4 a.m.
You're saying the quiet part out loud, but it doesn't matter because it's not like you work for Monster, right?
Right,
You don't
exactly.
who gives a shit? But like, this is the workaround, right? Like, oh, we're not going to be the guys that put out another energy drink. We're not going to have a Four Loko incident, but we're also not going to stop people from doing the obvious thing of just adding this to their already existing product.
Yeah. And again, I didn't see like any advertisement. This is if somebody, and I honestly feel like this person came to me. They listened to the show. Hi, Lance. Thank you for letting me know about the Beast Unleashed. If I hadn't been on the hunt for hard Mountain Dew, I don't know if they would have it would have been mentioned to me that Monster now has a version of it. But it's not like hard Mountain Dew. When that was announced, I couldn't get away from it on like social media or even just in like regular web searches. It was kind of like I'm on all sides of me in a lot of ways. Which
maybe you're in a test market for the Monster stuff. Maybe it's just not.
Well, no, I mean for the
yet.
Mountain Dew, for hard Mountain Dew. So for Monster, I've heard nothing about it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is maybe you're in a test market for the Monster stuff, so you wouldn't be seeing it everywhere because they're not advertising it. You just happen to be in an area where it's available.
I'm not sure, but it's really, really good. I'm excited to try the other flavors. But it was, I mixed it with Monster. I did it. Of course, I'm going to do that. But also reading that the 160 milligrams of caffeine, since you're the one who brought up the Panera charged lemonade, a large charged lemonade from Panera has 360 milligrams of caffeine in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, apparently, with the ice, that can dilute it down to 220, but still, lemonade from Panera should not have more caffeine in it than freaking energy drink.
I am at a point in my life where I can't drink a cup of coffee without getting like palpitations. Like my body doesn't need me to be putting that much energy into it anymore.
Well, I don't want to talk about that because energy drinks became a sudden hot button issue this year, and I didn't realize it until the email went out on campus, and they're like, "We'll be removing energy drinks from sale in all vending machines and at our cafeteria." I'm like, "Wow, that seems strange." And then they reversed that, and the energy drinks were back. But it's not back. Is Mountain Dew? Mountain Dew is not back in the vending machines. So I did a little bit of math. And the amount of caffeine in a Mountain Dew is less than what is in 8 ounces of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, why are you guys still selling coffee? I'm not trying to be that person.
Because the other thing is, it's not just caffeine. There's a whole bunch of other shit in soda that people,
sugars and things like that.
Right. And like the ways in which people get addicted to that. Also, there's something to be said about the idea that coffee is a more accepted addiction than others, and that is a thing that is true in the world. I don't know, like I'm not going to be able to explain that away or give a shit about it, to be honest, but it's there. But this idea that like the energy drink the idea that caffeine is the thing that gives you the energy in the energy drink or in the soda and things like that, and that's just simply not true. Like that's just like caffeine's a part of the equation, but there's so many other things that go into the quote unquote like energy aspect of it, and that's why I said earlier that like obviously there are instances where something is going on with like caffeine levels and stuff like that. People are literally getting hurt drinking these things, but like on a standard day, if I drink an energy drink, I don't feel any more energy booster more nowadays than if I just drink a cup of coffee or if I just drink a bottle of Coke. There is nothing like when I was a kid, and there was this element to drinking an energy drink that was like this. I'm gonna be up all night with this, right? Like, and that just doesn't seem to be what it is anymore. And I mean, I think part of that is because they probably toned a lot of that shit down over the years as more and more people get hurt, right?
I also wonder if it's psychosomatic on some level, because I know, like, I can have a Red Bull and it'll just be like, if I had a Coke or something like that, I don't feel any more energized if I have a Red Bull.
Like a direct opposite to that is the 5 hour energy shots. If I have one of those fuckers, like I am up. And that was honestly how I used to get through like third shifts and late nights doing writing and stuff like that in college. But like if I have a 5 hour energy, like one of those little guys, that I fucking feel. And which is another reason why I don't know if it's really psychosomatic. Maybe it's because I'm just not attributing it to the soda.
Well, I mean, you're attributing that when you're like, oh, I'll have 5 hours of energy. Go, go, go. And then you're telling your mind to do that. I say that because, like, if I'm staying up to play a game at like a midnight release and I drink like an energy drink, then I don't ever feel tired. Now, again, I'm stimulating myself with the game. There's natural levels of excitement and stuff like that. But I think I'm telling my brain, because I'm drinking this, you're going to stay awake. And my brain's like, yeah, you're probably right. I'm going to believe you.
Yeah, I do think that they have just gotten weak over the years, and they've gotten so weak to the point where some of them are not even really energy drinks. They're just, I mean, like you mentioned, like the Kickstarter Mountain Dew stuff, and that's great, but like half of that shit, like, is not like they sell themselves on just having real juice and that being the thing that's going to really get you that energy and stuff. And at that point, they're kind of just admitting like you should just go drink real juice.
Yeah. Well, there's also electrolytes. There's electrolytes, caffeine, and 5% juice.
There's electrolytes in everything.
I know there are. It's just so funny that that's how they're selling it to me.
They sell that shit like you're not getting it in other places.
I know. I'm just like, I bought it because it could fit into my tall boy Yeti and be a visual thing on this audio medium to talk about. Let's just become honest about it. But it's been fun. It's been an interesting time with the drinks and all that stuff. I'll report back once I've tried the white haze, which is supposedly like a citrus flavor, and I guess not a sweet and salty citrus flavor, but just regular styles. And then the peach perfect, which I mean, again, it's a little Bob's Burgers. Everything has to be a fucking joke, but I'm realizing that that's also the world. It's not just. I mean, I say that about Bob's Burgers because the store next to Bob's Burgers and the opening always has some goofy name. But then, like, I was out in the world. For my birthday, we took a lovely little road trip. Nice little 3 hours around to some of my favorite places to, like, eat or just be in Massachusetts. Town Spot Pizza, Duck Donuts. Did you have Duck Donuts in Utah?
No, and I've heard about them. People have been telling me that they've been popping up. I actually first heard about them in West Virginia, I think.
That makes sense, yeah. I'm not sure where they started from. One opened up in Walpole, Mass. And it is, like, 10 minutes away from Town Spa Pizza, which is like the best thin crust pizza. Like they call it, I don't even know. They call it bar pizza. That's what they call it in Massachusetts. And
I mean, this is working for like about like 10% of our audience.
I'm sorry. But it's there.
None of us can go there. You're making me angry.
Well, next time you're here, instead of going to the guild, maybe we go get some pizza. I'll drive it.
We
can. And then it's close by. So like we tried it out. And they tried it out with one of their pre-made boxes the first time. And then for my birthday, everybody made 3 donuts. So we each got like a quarter of the dozen, however we wanted them. And that is where, like, turning donuts into sundaes, essentially. I mean, they even you can put ice cream on top of them. Like a brownie sundae, but with a donut. So that's fun.
And I gotta go try Duck Donuts. I
don't know. Do they have Mooyah out in Utah?
No, man. I think we've talked about this before. The big thing that happens out here is you end up with statewide franchises. Like there are franchises, but they don't really tend to go out of Utah. And the other side of that is that they don't really tend to make room for other franchises to come in. That makes sense, right? Like they kind of learn their lesson with stuff with like Arby's and McDonald's and they don't let that kind of shit happen anymore.
That's smart. That's very smart. But yeah, Mooyah, we should check one of those out. It's like, imagine if Five Guys, like quality burger, but also we really give a fuck about the milkshakes.
Hey, awesome. Hell yeah.
And then the milkshakes, like I got cookie dough and Oreos in my mint chocolate chip milkshake. And my mother's like, it's like you just ordered a Blizzard. But I drank it all through like a boba straw. So I was
Yeah.
able to get it was excellent. And it's a big, not Devon's head size, that's a 32-ounce container. That goes back to God, high school when the Devon head size slush. That was a fun weekend of my life. Let's be honest, it was a summer and I'll never forget it. But they're large milkshakes and it was a good time to like celebrate the birthday. But like seeing all of these like other stores and like cute little punny names, like that's the world now, Siege. And I didn't realize that everything has to be a cute pun.
I forgot that we were driving down this road to Devon getting a joke. Yeah, man, that's how that shit works. That's why that was funny on the show, is because it happens in real life. See, it's that's how comedy works.
Yeah, but
it references things that we actually see and like do.
And I'm saying right here, like I thought the world was just reflecting that joke because of how my experience with it happened. So sorry, world, that I didn't understand it from the start, but I'm starting to get it now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like you've had a really good start to 2024. I'm very jealous because, like I said, we've been sick this whole time. Yeah. So
no, I've aside from not being able to get my teeth looked at, I took off this week anyway. So instead of using like my sick time, I use my personal leave days that are gonna go away at the end of the year anyway. And I always end up forgetting about them, and then being like, "Is it okay if I take a personal leave for like the last week of the year?" And like, I don't want to do that. Like, I'd rather be there when there's no one there to like get in my way of getting work done. So I took him here. I enjoyed my birthday, and I've seen movies and stuff. But what have you been up to? Let's talk Sejohn before we go back to some more Devon topics.
I mean, we were just kind of laid out, so we did a lot of wild stuff. I saw the new Little Mermaid that came out this year. Was that last year? That came out
this year. Yep.
I'm so like behind on the Disney stuff. Like, sorry, what's up this year?
Like the rest of the world. Yeah, that came out this year.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, is like they've, you know, I don't think this is a secret to everything that just happened last year. Like they overloaded the world so much with Disney shit that like nobody can get their head on straight about anything that they saw or didn't see when they saw it, that kind of stuff. I mentioned the Haunted Mansion in a group the other day, and it took 20 minutes to try and establish that I did not mean the Eddie Murphy one or the Muppets Haunted Mansion special that had come out.
Yeah. It was the last weekend of May it came out, which is the other crazy thing, because there was like a real quick turnover, and then Disney realized, oh, this real quick turnover is part of what's fucking our box office. So we'll wait. Because it came out in September on Disney Plus, because that's what we watched for Dale's birthday. Apparently it's just a bunch of Decker birthdays being the markers in this week's episode. And that, I mean, it's good. I don't think it did anything as a remake that like enhanced on the original story, if that makes sense.
What? Like the Haunted Mansion? I didn't.
No, not the Haunted Mansion. I'm talking Little Mermaid. The Haunted Mansion. I think the Haunted Mansion was fucking awesome.
I was like, Haunted Man. I wouldn't consider it a remake of the Eddie Murphy one, but I guess we could talk about it like that if you want.
No. They took the Eddie Murphy one and they're like, let's be a little bit more serious about it. Like, I liked the Haunted Mansion a lot. The only thing that makes me sad is that like movies like that make me wish that shit was real. But all of my research has only disproven any sort of paranormal experiences that have happened in or around my life.
Yeah. No, Little Mermaid. Yeah, it good, but like not anything that like blew me away, right? Like I and as far as the remakes go, I really have to say the only one that's ever really truly like blown me away was Jungle Book which was one of the first ones they ever did, right? Yeah. And that was really kind of like the first time and only time that I've ever seen one of these and walked away thinking, I'm glad this exists in the world. Beyond that, the other movies haven't been offensive to me. I just haven't really loved any of them majorly. I will say, though, that the music, and including the added music in this new one, all sticks with me, right? Really, really enjoyed it. Actually have been listening to the new Little Mermaid soundtrack a couple of times since we watched the movie, that sort of thing, right? Which is like the total opposite experience I had with Wish.
I still haven't seen that one, and I'm just gonna wait. But continue, yeah.
Yeah, no, like, and just like my biggest issue with that movie is there's so much good stuff going on with it, and it is all weighed down by kind of a meh soundtrack, a mediocre soundtrack, and it's wild because I don't know why. after all the success they've had over the last couple of years with the guys that worked on Frozen, right? The family there that worked on Frozen, or Lin-Manuel with all the stuff that he's done, why they didn't go to one of those two groups to do this movie that is pretty important in the grand scheme of like behind the scenes Disney. Like this was their 100th year like movie, and the movie itself is structured to be a very big celebration of Disney. Like it is a love letter to Disney and specifically Disney animation. And the fact that they let it fall flat because the music is just kind of good, but I mean like it's good music. Like if I were to analyze it, like it is written well, right? It is definitely there, but like I couldn't tell you a song from it right now, right? Meanwhile, like I have listened to the Scuttlebutt, the Lin-Manuel Miranda song that gets added to the new Little Mermaid. I've listened to that song like 3 times in the last like week, right? But like yeah, not a thing out of Wish, which had a completely new like original soundtrack to it. But like which is such a bummer because there's so many other things in it that I really loved that I want to talk about with people, but I also don't like nobody saw it and I can't blame them.
Well, I mean, for me, it was one of those ones where like maybe I'll go see Wish, but it was just in a regular theater, and I'm like, oh, okay, so the Disney animated film not ready for laser projection at my local cinema. We're gonna keep. I couldn't even tell you what was in there instead of it, and I'm just like, well, I don't want to see it in a little theater, just like I didn't want to see Haunted Mansion in a little theater. If I'm gonna see it in a little theater, seeing it at home is better, and that's just like. But so right now, like one of those things that like I'm so mad that I can't buy tickets for Madam Web yet. I'm just gonna say that. I am all in on fucking Madam Web.
I cannot believe how excited you are for this wild ass movie. Did Craven come out? I missed we were talking about Craven for months.
We were talking about Craven for months, and it was given a release date of October 2024, and then because of COVID surges. And maybe COVID surges. That was one of the things that they blamed, but also everything that was going on with the SAG-AFTRA strike, they ended up pushing it to 2023, October 2023. I said 2024. They ended up pushing it to September of 2024, I believe. But it got pushed out further than Madam Web.
Yeah, which is that's what I was going to say. Is it seemed to like leapfrog, and now we're all talking about Madam Web, and I'm just like, I was excited for the last one. For the first time, Sony had me.
Dude, so was I. Aaron Taylor Johnson looked awesome as Craven.
Yeah.
And like,
well, and the violence, like, man, if they were to really lean into the violence like that preview seems to promise, like, I'm down. Like, it reminded me a lot of the first time I saw a preview for Punisher Warzone, where I was like, this is going to be buck wild. Let's see this. Like, let's see what you do here.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm excited for Craven as well, but Madam Web, I just want to get my ticket so I don't need to think about it anymore. But tickets are not available yet. I did that thing I never thought I would do, and that is sign up on Fandango for a ticket alert when they finally go on sale. And I'm not going to buy through Fandango, but
I'm surprised you thought you would never do that. As a man that bought into Movie Pass as much as you did, to the point where you were probably the one that killed
Movie Pass.
I'm surprised you didn't already have Fandango alerts.
Well, the thing is that you didn't. You know what? I did kind of use Fandango before just for showtimes, and then their app turned more into selling me tickets instead of just showing me showtimes. So I moved away from it. But even then, like, I didn't have notifications on or anything like that. So I have signed up specifically for Madam Web because I want the tickets. But then I'm like, fingers crossed, everything's going to be all right, that it goes into laser projection. Because I don't want to see it not in laser projection. Like, an Argyle may be in there as, like, the big movie that, like, people are talking about for February.
Yeah.
So I just needed.
After what happened with Morbius, I don't know what you're gonna get with Madam Web. I'll be honest.
I don't know. All I know is that I'm super excited.
I don't mean in the movie. I don't mean the quality of the movie or anything like that. I mean in the way that the movie is treated. Like, considering how kind of boned a lot of theaters felt after Morbius fell so flat, I wouldn't be surprised if they're a little overcautious with Madam Web.
See, but then my question is how well into Across the Spider-Verse went. So, like, Sony had something that proved themselves. This is another Spider-Man adjacent, and based on the trailer, this is from the trailer, and I don't even think it's a Sejohn's Gambit. This is, did you ever read the Spider-Woman series from 1999? Because we're adapting the Spider-Woman series from 1999. That's what it is. Charlotte Whittier is instead Ezekiel Sims. Everything else is the same. and I
Yeah, I
couldn't
mean,
be
like,
happier.
the movie has not come out yet. Like, so again, there's no way to have like a judgment on quality about
Yeah,
any of it.
true,
Not
true,
even
true.
like a whisper of what's going on in that movie. So like, I don't know. Maybe that movie's gonna be amazing. But considering where Sony has kind of put its efforts in making those films and the ways in which they have never quite worked for me, you'll forgive me if I'm not necessarily chomping at the bit to go see Madam Web. If it comes out and it's awesome, maybe this will be the one that turns me around on the whole universe. Maybe I'll go all in.
I hear you, my brother and Xavier, but I am telling you that I'm super excited, and I think the fact that there are 1, 2, 3 Spider Women in it, in addition to like some guy in a black Spider-Man-esque suit and Madam Web, but I haven't seen her in any sort of costume. Like, if I'm a movie theater and I'm like, well, Across the Spider-Verse did pretty good, maybe we want to put this one into the bigger format house. I don't know. I'm excited for it. I really am.
Okay, are they still in a position where they can't talk about Spider-Man?
I don't know because of
I just don't
everything
know how
that
you do this
happened
movie
with
and
Tom
not
Holland.
ever talk about.
Well, yeah, it's because it's complete. I mean, I'm trying to think about the Spider. You know what? Here's what we're gonna do. We haven't done tasks for a while, mostly because we had like big things to focus on. Sejohn, we're gonna read the first issue of Spider-Woman 1999. Spider-Woman 3.
We haven't done tasks in a while because the strike ended, and that's why we were doing tasks.
Yeah, but we were still doing tasks. We've had a couple of them. This is my task for the week is read a copy of the Spider-Woman 3, is I believe it is, because the third volume of Spider-Woman, that first issue. And then we're going to come back and talk about it next week. So everybody else can do it too. Sejohn, I'll make sure you are able to find a copy of it. Wink, wink. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about it. I'm excited about Madam Web, and I want to get my tickets. That's where I am. Also on the Marvel home front, Echo is coming out on the 9th, the day that I'm finally having my tooth looked at to see if it can be treated. And after What If, I don't know, did you guys do What If? Did you remember that What If happened?
No, I think we talked about this where you were like, were you aware this was even a thing? And I was like, no. So like I haven't watched any of it. I mean, to be honest, I think our Disney app might be one of the ones that's on hold right now, because that's the other thing is we talked like we said at the end of last year, we were putting a bunch of stuff on hold. I feel like before we get too far away from Madam Web though, I do want to make one thing clear that like I am interested in it as a movie. The reason that Craven has me more excited is just because the preview was insane, and I'm not, and I'm if they are willing to go that far, it makes me more interested in going back to what they were kind of did with Carnage that fell so flat for me in not going far enough, right? And so like Craven introduces something new to this universe for me. Madam Web is a fucking mystery to me because I've seen the preview for it, still don't quite understand how they're going to try and do this movie and not talk about like Spider-Man. Like they're going to just have to they're going to create this whole universe where we know Spider-Man has been mentioned because we've seen Michael Keaton. There's a whole bunch of weird shit going on that Madam Web is going to have to do a whole lot more legwork than Craven's ever going to have.
This is why I want to put the discussion on hold. I don't disagree with you, but I want you to read that first issue and see how they did it back in 1999. Because that's like one of the reasons why they pivoted to the whole thing. So I
get it, man.
Yeah.
People, if they don't mention Spider-Man, I'm not saying that the movie can't structurally work without Spider-Man, but if they don't mention Spider-Man, people are going to be scratching their heads. And I don't think they can mention Spider-Man because of a lot of stuff going on with Disney. So I don't know what they're going to do. It's not that I don't think they can tell a story without Spider-Man. They've done that now for 3-4 movies. They've been able to put together, well, arguably maybe they haven't, but maybe this will be the one. But like this idea that like they've been telling non-Spider-Man Spider-Man stories, that's not new. They've been doing that for years. Yeah. What's new is this is the one where if they don't mention Spider-Man, I think people are really going to be confused. Right? Like people that sat down to see Venom, if they didn't really know he was ever connected to Spider-Man, they weren't missing anything, right? Sure. Whereas this one, I don't think anybody's going to go into this movie without the knowledge that this is somehow connected to Peter Parker, Spider-Man, somebody. And the fact that it can't come up is going to be really interesting.
All right. Again, I'd like to table it until you've read that book, and then maybe more questions, maybe more conjecture from us. So this is coming back. I want to have this conversation with you, but I don't want to explain the book to you. Like that doesn't seem fun. If we've both read it, have some knowledge, we can go there. Because the one thing I will say to end the Madam Web conversation is that a lot of the people that I have told I am super excited about it have watched the trailer and said that it looks too much like a horror movie for them to be invested. And that's interesting to me.
That is interesting. That's
Like,
not the feeling. I'll have to rewatch it with that, because that's not what I got from that preview. Is there more than one preview out?
I don't know. I've only watched the official trailer, the one that I saw before the Marvels. You asshole! You got me to do that before the Marvels, and that's the one that I've been showing to people, and I'm like, this is why I'm excited, and I'm excited because they show the 3 Spider Women in costume in it, and like that right there, I'm like, and Maddie Franklin is a character I never thought I was gonna see in a movie. Right? 99, I'm reading Spider-Woman 3 books. I'm loving this new character, Maddie Franklin. And I'm like, but all of these adaptations, I don't think they're ever going to get down to her. Especially when, the Avengers broke up and they restarted, and it was Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman, who was in the Avengers. Not 4 years after Spider-Woman with Maddie Franklin had stopped running new issues. Like, it was just one of those situations where I'm like, that was a fun little distraction. It was an interesting story. It really spoke to me as a fan of the animated series. But, like, now they've reestablished that Jessica Drew is Spider-Woman. And Julia Carpenter, I guess, is just there as Spider-Woman too. But, like, she was never mentioned again. And then we also saw how that Spider-Woman thing went. If you're familiar with the Secret Invasion. And who she really was.
So, like, everything that you've just said for the last 10 minutes is like glazed over me.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Is like, this is getting into such deep, complicated spider lore that it's just, you're gonna need to put some handholds out there. But when your best handhold is inaccessible to you, I don't know how they do it. So I am very curious to see what they do with this movie. So,
what I am immediately reminded, no, it's completely understandable. I'm immediately reminded of the guy who was sitting next to me when we saw Bad Boys for Life, and the Mobius trailer aired, and afterwards he punched my arm, and not like, oh my, I'm mad at you, but like just to like get my attention, and he's like, that's not what Mobius was like in the show, though, right? And I'm like, no, they couldn't use blood in the show, so he sucked plasma from people with, like, mouth hands. And he's like, oh, okay. Because I'm like, that's not my that's not my... And I'm like, he said a word that I really shouldn't say here. And I'm like, no, it's not. They're going off of more of what he was like in the comic books, but also they are using his animated series origin. So you're not crazy for being like, I'm confused. So I have had a conversation with John Q. Public about these Spider-Man adaptations that do not feature Spider-Man. These Garfield without Garfield Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh man, because like I'm excited. I liked that character, but then it's like, but that's not the character I know. And I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And then the world what happened shut with that down. Movie? Like, so I didn't get to. I do imagine that if I were still going to the Dartmouth AMC for movies on Morbius opening night, that guy would have wound up sitting next to me, and we would have had a conversation about it. Just like the people that we made friends with at Suicide Squad, the 7th time that we saw, not Suicide Squad, the Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey, and the Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. The 7th time we saw that film at an AMC, we made friends with people, and throughout the whole movie, we were throwing candy bars back and forth to each other. That was fun, because we had already seen the movie. Oh, I sometimes miss the old movie times, Sejohn. You know what? It feels like it's time to talk about a big thing that happened in the world of gaming. Do a little bit of gaming news.
Yeah, let's talk.
We're late to the party because it happened while we were on vacation, but also the world seems kind of late to the party because it happened on 12/21. But a true kill screen was achieved in NES Tetris.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
crazy.
and that's crazy
That's
for
insane.
a lot of reasons, but especially because it's actually kind of nebulous, like the kill screen isn't guaranteed to happen at that point. It could have gone on longer. It could have happened sooner. There's some like weird shit about the way that goes. Computers have been able to beat Tetris for a while, right? They've been able to push to the end of Tetris
No.
for a bit,
Computers have
right?
never been able to push to the end of Tetris. AI had been playing Tetris, but it would trigger kill screens.
Mm.
So, like, because this is important. Like, this is the big distinction of it. So, the kill screen, and people should, if you listen to the show, hopefully you know, but if you've never heard of it, you're someone who listens to us because of the movie stuff. There's a little bit of game knowledge here. A kill screen is when the code of the game can no longer execute properly, and either it freezes or it becomes unwinnable. Probably the most famous is the kill screen in Donkey Kong at the start of like round 26 where Mario
like half
just dies.
half the screen gets borked, right?
No, that's Pac-Man. I think Pac-Man is the more visually known one, but because of everything with the King of
Pac-Man,
Kong and Billy Mitchell and his ongoing lawsuits and everything with Twin Galaxies. I mean, Billy Mitchell also played a perfect game of Pac-Man, so he's been to board 256, where because the code table only goes to 255, it does not know how to render the maze a 256th time, so the whole right side is just glitched
completely
out,
screwed. Yeah,
sprites and such. So those both happened because these games were coded in the 80s. They're basically made of bubblegum and twine and goodwill.
And specifically, these are games that are built to not really end, right? Like
yes.
the idea is that you just play until you die. There is no end goal, right? These were never intended to be seen or expected to be seen, right?
Yeah. So that's one of the situations there. So NES Tetris, for the longest time, right? I'm going to put on my scholar hat about NES Tetris. They considered the 29th level the kill screen because blocks moved so fast that you couldn't like properly manipulate them to the left or right of the screen. So it just
until the move, right?
Yeah, until the rolling came into it. And even like hyper tapping, they were able to do it. But it was really the roll tech that allowed people to have actual control from the 29th level on. So for a long time, it was like you get to 29, you try to play your best. Maybe you get to level 30 or 31. Like, I think those were the highest that were achieved before the introduction of hyper tapping and roll tech on the controller. Mm-hmm. And then once roll tech was introduced, people were able to get to like incredibly high levels of the game because you have that same level of control with it. So then AI came together. Stack Rabbit is the name of the AI that was designed to play Tetris. And it was able to play the game up until, I believe it was board 237, where it experienced one of these kill screen glitches.
Right.
Where you clear a line or a block falls in a certain way, and the game just doesn't know what to do next, so it crashes. That's the true kill screen of Tetris. So that's how far AI got. And then, like, humans are going to try to do it. But tool-assisted speedruns, or TASes, that's where you manually put in every single move. Basically, at the start of it, you take a you take a save state, and then you make sure you act the way that you want to act. And then if you mess up, you reload that save state so that you can play perfectly, avoiding any sort of glitches or misdrops or things like that. Using TASes, they have gotten all the way to board 255 and found out that if you can clear it and avoid all of these like little glitch traps that exist within the game that will trigger a code overload and crash the game, it wraps back around to level 0, which is just insane, right? You talk about these games are not supposed to end. Like, that's what Atari games kind of do, right? They loop back to the beginning once you beat them. Tetris is the same thing, but they coded it so that it would have to play through 255. The speed does not increase after board 29, and you just keep playing, right? And if you're perfect, you have no shit pieces come, you can do it, and you don't hit one of these arbitrary things. So like that's the next peak is for a human being to roll over from 255 to 0.
Yeah, but this is just nuts. Like that this kid was able to do this.
What this
and like this, the story of it is also just like they make movies out of this shit. Like the kid's father had passed away. He dedicated the win to him. Like all this stuff that was just going on that was just like just made this story kind of phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. The fact that like one of the like other really high level players of the game, Fractal, was also going for it. So that's why when Scooty, that's the name of the player, he's 13 years old too. Like he's like,
yeah.
I love the next generation is still playing Tetris 40 years later. He got to like a level 138 just rolling, and he's like, well, if Fractal's gonna try to like go for one of these true kill screens, I guess I can do it too, right? Because I'm able to get up to those high levels. Because I think it's like 155 is the first time that you can trigger the true kill screen. If you get a single line transition into the next level, the game will bork and freeze. Because like that's one of the things is that he misses it. If you watch the video, he's like, I missed it. I missed the trigger for it. And then it's like kind of just serendipitous that he's able to get it in level 157. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's the other crazy thing about it is that by all accounts, like he missed what he thought was the time to get it. Yeah. And then he just kept playing like, maybe I'll find another opportunity. And he did. And like, you can't take it away. He's the first human being. I mean, the Tetris company has come out and said, the game was never expected to be played like this. He's the first human that has ever done it. Like, if this had happened at any time before, we would have heard about it. We would have found out. So it's just this incredible thing that happened. Since it happened, 2 more living human beings have achieved the crash, Fractal being one of them, and I don't remember the name of the third. But, like, this is the meta of Tetris now. All the top-level Tetris players are now aiming for the true kill screen because it has been proven that a human being can do it real-time adjusted. And that's just incredible. And it's also kind of sucks because the people that I watch play Tetris is the perfect thing to throw on if you're trying to fall asleep. Not that it's boring, but it's soothing to watch someone else have to deal with it. It'll keep me awake if I'm playing it. But if I'm trying to like fall asleep, watching people like dance with those 7 blocks is absolutely gorgeous.
So we're gonna end up with a Tetris documentary sometime in the next year or two, right? I mean, we are already kind of on the edge of it with the success of the Tetris movie last year, right? Yeah. I'm just like, how long now with all of this that's going on? Because, you know, a lot of this has also really brought up in conversation again a lot of the stuff that we've already kind of known about Tetris for a while, but people are just finding cool facts again, where like it helps with brain recovery after like traumatic experiences and things like that, and the ways in which math is like a huge part of it, and the history of it is actually vitally important. Hence the movie being made and things like that. Like there's a lot of just talk going on around this now. I'm just like counting the days until we see that somebody's putting together that documentary.
The only thing that I think would stand in against that documentary happening, I think one will happen. It might just be a YouTube documentary and then bought
Apple.
up like that.
It'll be Apple because they probably still have some connection to it, right?
Yes, and I think that it's definitely a story, but it's become such a big story that the morning news shows are talking about it, and I have not really seen a live clip of anchors discussing what happened with Tetris that doesn't throw like a snide remark towards the kid. And that really bothers me.
Every good movie needs a villain, right? But
right.
the worst offender being that woman over at Sky News over in the UK, right? I think it was Sky that she works for.
I believe it's
where
Sky,
she just like told him to go outside and touch grass, essentially.
Yeah, she well, I don't think she's aware enough of the phrase "touch grass" to say "touch grass." But I mean,
I think she literally did though say go outside.
He
said
right? She go outside. This kid, why is this kid inside playing a video game? He should go outside. And it's like, I mean, he by all accounts, he seems to be like a well-adjusted, well-rounded individual. Just because he spends 3 to 5 hours a day playing Tetris, there are times where you have to be inside.
Well, and again, we don't know the whole story about this kid, and we shouldn't. I mean, he's a 13-year-old kid. He deserves some privacy. But there has also been circulating stories about how, like, this has also been something that he's been kind of hyper focused on since losing a parent, and like this was kind of a way for him to get through that. Hence all of the conversation again about Tetris and the ways in which it has been proven to help in those kinds of like weirdly connected instances. But also the idea that like the kid did this in a night. Like this isn't like he's like what I bet he does also go out, like this idea that he doesn't also go outside and like play, like he probably does that too. This kid is 13. Like this is not, I have gotten no impression that this is this kid's whole life. Like
Right.
you said, even in the video, like he wasn't even really thinking he was gonna go for it at first. Then he goes for it, then he misses it. Like he's not one of these people where he's like he's getting sponsorships from fucking Monster to play Tetris. That's not his life.
No, it's not. But also, if he were getting sponsorships from Monster and it could be his life, I mean, he's doing really well in the competitive Tetris circles, which have existed since the a year went by with Tetris, and then they started to play it competitively.
My only line in that regard would be that as a 13-year-old kid, he should not be working. That's what I mean. Like that's the only thing I would say to that. That like he should be able to go outside when he wants to. At that point, it's like you're locked inside, kid.
No, and I don't think it's one of those situations either. I think he has chosen to play the game, he's good at it, and he's able to be an esports athlete. That's one of the interesting things about esports is that like there's no age requirement or limit on it. So it's very interesting to see him do this and play that way. But yeah, like Anchor's being like, I don't know, he should probably do something else with his time. And it's like, he's also 13, right? He could become a Tetris grand champion now and then go on to do something else.
Right.
Like it's not like some tragic story where he did it and then something happened. He did it, and he's getting his 15 minutes of fame for it. He'll probably get more of it because he is the first person.
Imagine if they said that to like a football player or like an Olympic like gold winner, and they were just like, medal. I mean, it's great that you've been skiing this whole time, but when are you going to get a real job?
Yeah, it's just, it's such an insane thing, but it really is representative of like the taboo that still surrounds video games. And I bring that up because we watched Gran Turismo. Did you remember that the Gran Turismo movie came out?
Hell yeah, man. David Harbour getting work. Orlando Bloom being still sexy as hell. Well, yeah, but anyway.
The movie's excellent. It's on Netflix now. We watched it yesterday.
It's a good time, right?
It's a great movie. My father said it was better than Oppenheimer, Barbie, and The Holdovers. Because those are the other 3 movies we've watched during this like Christmas break. He's like, guys, Gran Turismo, then Oppenheimer second, then Holdovers, and Barbie was terrible. And I'm like, you know what, Dad? I kind of have to put them in that same order. I really liked Oppenheimer, but you know, my
scale might just be on a smaller scale than your scale.
Yeah, I mean, but I was the only one who like really liked Oppenheimer in the house. I'd be like, it was a little long, and I'm like, yeah, but we knew it was long. You knew that going in. You need to divorce yourself from that part. You could say that it was slow or that there were unnecessary parts, but yeah, but Gran Turismo, good thing. Really kind of felt like Top Gun Maverick, but playing Gran Turismo and then becoming a real race car driver.
I was really pulling for them. I was really hoping it was going to do gangbusters, and I was sad it didn't because they were leaning so hard on trying to tell people like, we promise this is a real story. This sounds insane, but you have to believe us.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember when it happened because it was like right around the same time as or in the wake of The Tester. Remember the Sony Big Brother-esque show to become the next tester of Sony video games?
Oh,
and like that's where like Aaron
I didn't
Hansen
until you said those words. I don't think.
Yeah.
I haven't dedicated brain space to that show since the first time I heard of it, I think.
Yeah, exactly. But it's where like some of the big people in gaming now, they were on that show. That's like how they made some of their connections and then went forward. But like the Gran Turismo thing is such a cooler story than The Tester. Like the fact that they're like, yeah, we're going to get like these people who are really good at the game simulation, and we're going to see if that translates to them being real race car drivers. And it did, CJ.
It did. It actually did. And the guy what's wild is that like this isn't new, but I'm like using the simulator, like using simulations and simulators, including things like Forza and Gran Turismo and like all of these games, like guys were already doing that to learn things, to do things. We like simulators have existed with rigs and giant screens, and guys were already training in that. That like so the ways in which the movie is kind of guilty of this too, but the ways in which the world really kind of looks at that idea of like, oh, you got a bunch of gamers and then just put them in a car just to see what would happen. And it's just like, yeah, but keep in mind that what you're saying is you took a bunch of guys that were working on the training material we've been giving our own guys for years, but they've been doing it their whole lives. It's like if I it's like if I was in like a training simulator to like fly a plane for 15 years and then got out of it and somebody was like, "Well, you're not allowed to touch a real plane. You've only touched the training material." It's like at some point there's a leap. So at some point you need to take that next step, right?
Yeah.
And what is not the next step after training other than to get in the car and drive?
I mean, Gran Turismo's not the first. You got The Last Starfighter. You got Snakes on a Plane. It's happened in cinema beforehand.
No, but I don't mean in cinema. I mean like in racing.
In real life. Well, yeah,
like
racing.
Guys, like race car drivers have been using simulators, including these video games, for years.
Yeah, because you're not able to get out on Le Mans track all the time. So you run a simulator so that you have some idea of how the curves are, how the track is laid out. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, you're only allowed certain amounts of track time for sure. But then on top of that, if you only need to work on one curve, you're not going to have that guy race. I mean, you will do eventual full races, right? But like any good rehearsal, you'll stick to what you need to work on for a little bit first, right? And you can't just do that in the real world. It's not that easy to take a real car out and drive around the same corner 6 times in 20 minutes, right?
Yeah, especially since if you're going to turn around and race backwards, that's not a real world thing. The best way to do it is to kind of, simulate, to be a fucking asshole, like what the real track condition is going to be like. You coming up a straightaway to like a 45-degree turn. Like
the whole movie is predicated on this idea, so that's like the one thing about this movie that really and I think that it's really what turned a lot of people off to it is this like whole thing of just like, isn't it crazy that we got these guys and put them in cars? Like that's the whole pitch for that movie, and that's a bummer because like the story is so much better than that. Like it's so I think it kind of was its own worst enemy in a lot of ways. In terms of marketing, at least. Yeah,
well, in terms of marketing, I really respect the marketing for it because the trailer is like a short film. Very few things that are said or happen in the trailer actually ended up making it to the movie, and I loved that. Like David Harbour being like, "Oh, you got to take these couch potatoes and strap them to a 200-mile-per-hour vehicle." Like that line's never in the movie, so like he's not kicking the cat. Like there's redemption for him. In the fact of it, like they made him despicable in the trailer, and then you watch the movie, and you're like, "Oh, he's not that bad." Then why'd they make him so bad in the trailer? So that's that part, and then also what the film does, because the big issue is that if you're training to be a race car driver, it's not just driving. There is other endurance stuff that goes into that. And that part of the movie, David Harbour definitely says it like 3-4 times, but it's all like cut down to a montage. So you don't see this kid who like really was not very active. Like they do bake that into it. His father and younger brother are both football players. Football meaning soccer because they live in the UK. But there was definitely a moment where I'm like, oh no, he means soccer. He means association football, not American football. Remember that, Devon, because like it's different, right? Especially with the mentality of it. Like he's not a person who was going outside the play. He wasn't running around. He didn't enjoy that physical activity. He really just wanted to be a race car driver. And it was this really interesting thing where it's like, hey, you want to be a race car driver? That's cool. Your body still needs to be in shape to handle the G-force of being in a vehicle that fast. For being in a vehicle that long so that your muscles don't cramp or atrophy while you're driving and you can still maintain what you're doing.
Yeah, and there's something to be said that like working out the body is working out the mind, right? And a lot of driving is also like intelligence and reaction and speed and stuff like that.
Yeah. So like also the fact that the big thing for this kid is like, I want to be a race car driver. I want to be a race car driver. And then the sad truth of that is, well, you want to be a race car driver, you're going to have to run, like you're going to have to start running and building up that endurance, and you're going to have to build up your muscles. Like you don't just get put in a race car and your skills transfer over. There is a physical component to it. And that part of the film, which to me would be the most interesting part of the film is seeing this kid grow is like it's not even in a montage. It's like in a double time montage.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, the movie is kind of works against itself in a couple of places, so it wasn't my favorite movie this year. Definitely don't know if I would have put it above Oppenheimer or Barbie. But
I mean, I don't think it's my favorite movie of the year. I haven't put it there. But my father, of those 4 specific movies, that was the one he liked. And it's like, well, of course you do. You like sports films. And it was a sports film. The one that, like, kind of like, okay, now we have to have a conversation, sir, was he was like, I might even say it was as good as Ford v. Ferrari. And I'm like, ooh, that's big. I know that they both had Le Mans in it, and they were both racing movies, but different stories altogether about there. And then because like my mother was like, you know, he made the podium, and I'm like, yeah, but he should have won in Ford versus Ferrari, but he did a freaking marketing stunt for Ford and he wound up in 3rd place. Like, that's disappointing to him. I don't know. That's a good movie too. Ford v Ferrari. Check it out. Matt Damon's in it. No Ben Affleck though, which is weird. All right. Yeah. So that's Gran Turismo.
We won't be talking about him this year.
We won't be talking about Ben Affleck at all this year, or Matt Damon. We have to talk about Ben Affleck. He spilt all that Dunkin' Donuts in a best dad ever shirt. And the best part about it is that in one of the greatest dad ever pictures, the D is hidden, so it looks like it says greatest ad ever. And I'm like, man, I could go for some Dunkin' Donuts. They're not wrong. No, we're talking about Ben Affleck. I love Ben Affleck, Sejohn. If nothing has been learned from 2023, no, I'm kidding. I'm only kidding. What else? Any movies for you in the time off? Like you did Wish, you did that. Any other stuff?
Sorry. I don't know. No, I'm sitting here now and trying to remember through the sick haze of the last like 7 or 8 days. There's just been so much cold medicine consumed, Devon. Just waves and waves of it.
The amount of ibuprofen, I should have bought stock in the way that I was choking it down. If I could have put it in a Pez dispenser, I would have.
Yeah. The big thing out here for Christmas this year was there was a couple of different Mormon Christmas movies that had come out. That Journey to Bethlehem movie that I think I sent you the Good to Be King song from. Do you know anything about this movie, first of all?
No, and honestly...
So this is not... I didn't mean to lump it in with the Mormon movies. It just was also another religious film that was coming out. It's not one of the Mormon films. It is a wholly other film that... It's trying to be in the vein of something like Jesus Christ Superstar. Like, let me say that. It is clearly a hard swing at something like that. So as religious as you want to consider that movie is probably about as religious as I would consider this one, right? And for some people, that's a bridge too far. It's a movie about Jesus. I get it. This is a story about the Joseph and Mary. And like, so like, if that's a bridge too far and you don't do religious films, like, because I know these could be kind of triggering for people. I'm saying this because of all the Mormon movies that have been kind of in my face for like the last like month. It's just been hard in some cases with some of the other stuff that's come out like over the years about the church and stuff, to watch them then try and put stuff into like comedic Christmas movies and just be like, that's gross, guys. But yeah, Journey to Bethlehem is the religious movie I will recommend this year, I guess. It is a fucking buck wild like musical starring, well, it's not starring Antonio Banderas. He plays Herod in it though. So as far as I'm concerned, it's starring him.
Everyone knows that Herod is the principal character of the Nativity story. Jesus is a baby.
He's phenomenal as the evil King Herod. He is evil. It is so good. But the big reason I even came to it is one of the big stars of it is the dude Milo. Oh, what is his last name from the Zombies movies on Disney?
I can't think of his last name, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, Milo Manheim. That's his name. I got it here in front of me. He as Joseph, like he is Joseph, right? And like there's just all sorts of other great casting going on in it. But it is a musical, top to bottom. It has got this really weird pop, but also traditional Christmas music vibe to it. Like not even just hymns, just like traditional Christmas music. Like it's some weird stuff, some weird choices in that regard. but it just goes so goddamn hard. I guess the creator of it is some guy that's been a music producer for years, has done a lot of TV movie stuff, might even maybe that's how he got involved with like zombies or something like that. But this guy just like is a very big music guy and was just like, I want to do my religious like rock musical, and this is what came out of it, and it was insane. But I also watched it when I was high on cough medicine, so I have no idea what I saw.
Well, I definitely add it to the list. So I saw what you sent me, and I'm like, I can't watch this scene. I need to watch the whole film. Like, nope, I gotta watch the whole thing. So, Journey to Bethlehem. It's a promise that we'll talk about it maybe sometime later this year, right? Christmas did just end, right? The Epiphany was yesterday.
Maybe this will be a good one for us to visit at the end of the year, because by that point it should be out on like DVD for people to like get a hold of and stuff like that.
Love it.
But
Absolutely.
It came out the same weekend as the Marvels, and like it made like $2 million, I think, when all was said and done. Like,
that's right.
So
in terms of religious viewing, I watched Lupin the Third Part 2 Season 30 Episode 34. Lupin has become a vampire. Have you ever seen
Why were you watching Lupin the Third?
Well, because a lot of people were sharing that like this is a Christmas episode of Lupin the Third. Let's do it. Do you know what happens in this episode where Lupin is a vampire? Like, that's the title. Lupin has become a vampire is the translated title of the episode. I gotta
be honest. I honestly do not remember this particular storyline for Lupin.
That's understandable. So, in Hiburai Village, Japan, a casket washes up on shore, and in it is a woman in like a near-death state, holding a golden statue of the Virgin Mary. That golden statue is the item that Lupin wants to steal, right? Because Lupin the Third is a thief, if you don't know. We'll go on a deep dive on Lupin someday.
I am on the fence about whether it's Lupin or Lupin. That's the other thing.
Oh, okay.
Just before we get tweets. That's
I've always called him Lupin. Lupin the Third. That's how they sing the song. But again, they could have been wrong when they were translating it back in. When did this come out? The 70s. 1978. So this woman that is in a near-death state, she's brought to like a friggin' medical examiner's office. No, she's brought to a hospital, and they're given blood, and then the blood bag is ripped open, and she escapes through the window. And it turns out that this woman is Camilla, and she is a vampire. But in this huge twist, she is the twin sister of Jesus Christ.
Man, I fucking love old anime. Like we're talking Lupin, so this would be like the 70s, right?
Yeah,
like
this
70s
episode
or 80s.
Came out in 78,
right?
1978.
Yeah.
And also,
I love old ass anime.
It aired in May 29th, 1978. They do a whole thing about like Jesus was my brother. Like the original adaptation, I don't know, like is this, but your brother was such a nice guy. Is what the actual Japanese translates to. So it's like Lupin talking to this vampire like, but your brother was Jesus Christ. You're killing people for their blood? You're exsanguinating them to death? Your brother was such a nice guy.
Wow.
It was just, and I gotta tell you, as like big fan of Castlevania and all that, there's been some big Castlevania stuff. I haven't gotten a chance to play it, so we'll deal with it a little bit later. But full English translation of the Sega Saturn version of Symphony of the Night dropped like the last week of the year. And it also has a bunch of the stuff from the PSP version, like Definitive has been thrown around a lot because it has all of the locales. It has all of the voice work and some of the changes. Very excited to play it. Sorry to come off of it. But, like, I have been thinking a lot about, like, what if Jesus really did have a twin sister who was a vampire? Like nature abhors the vacuum. If you're giving birth to the perfect, like, specimen, right? The Son of God, like, you need a Danny DeVito. To that Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. You're literally getting into Antichrist lore is what you're talking about. Exactly. If there is a Christ, there has to be an Antichrist. Yes.
Yeah. Nature abhors a vacuum. But yeah, so that's as religious as I got this Christmas season. I mean, it's a celebration of Jesus' birth, and it's a Christian holiday.
No.
But yeah.
No, I spent more time doing gaming this Christmas, I think, than I did watching anything.
That's cool. With my tooth issue, I sat down and buckled through Doom and Doom Eternal. I think I might have talked about that, though. I feel like I talked about playing through those games.
Yeah, we talked about Doom, and how you were unimpressed.
Well, I don't know. Doom Eternal was really fun too. I think like both of the games. I mean, I've realized the big thing that I realized, right? Game of the year 2023 for me is still Grimace's birthday. That game was fantastic, and
nice.
Let's be honest, it's 5 levels long. It's 5 levels long. They're not too short. Maybe I have a little bit of a bias because briefly I was.
Because you too are a taste bud.
No, don't do that. No, briefly I was the world record holder in 100%, and I'm still the fastest clear time on 100% hard mode with my 5-minute time. Like, that feels really good. So I have a connection to it, but it is a game that you just load up, you start playing, it feels good. Thing that I've noticed about games in 2023, they're all so long now. Speaking of they're all so long now, you said we had to table a conversation about Super Mario RPG and the post game.
Oh.
Did you do anything with that, or?
Oh yeah, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. I don't know. You were talking about there being some post game stuff, so I went back in and I definitely got the Marrymore cutscene, right, where you go and Gino sees like the star, and then they go to Star Road, and he says we should go talk to Frog Fuchsius, what's his name? The Frog Sage, for more information. So I went to go talk to the Frog Sage, and he told me to go fight Jagger in Monster Town, and then I fought Jagger in Monster Town, and that was pretty much it. Like, nothing happened after that. I hadn't done that during the main story, so like I was happy to finish that part up, but like I don't know, I've just kind of been it didn't lead to any conclusion to that storyline, so I've just kind of been walking around getting into other fights, but at some point I kind of just stopped doing that. Honestly, I've restarted the game. Like I'm doing a playthrough of my own on just breezy, just because I just was really more interested in like OPing my way through that game. So this time around, so like I put it on the easiest mode possible, and my plan is to just like find the first like good spot to grind, like a really good like grinding area, and then just grind all the way up to 30 and then kick everybody's ass. Like that's, I'm still having fun with the game and still doing that stuff, but as far as like post game stuff goes, I don't know what else I was supposed to be doing. Like,
so you beat Jagger. Did you beat the 3 Jinx fights?
Is that his name? The guy in the
his sensei.
Yeah, the sensei. Yeah. So I defeated that whole thing. My name is on the thing there. I got the you're rewarded with something, right? You're rewarded
belt.
with a
Did you then go in afterwards? Because that's where the first like post game fight is. You need to do a triple move against Jinx starting from 0. Did you do that part of it?
No.
Okay.
No, I hadn't beaten him during the main game, so I went in and I beat him, and it just kind of finished off like it normally does during the main story. And so I was like, maybe he was supposed to, I don't know, like I thought maybe I was supposed to then use what I got to go do something, but I don't know. I found my way to a second Balome fight because I mean he's just right outside of the monster area, so like that happened. But like,
did you beat him?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a post game fight against Balome. Or is it Balome? I've heard a lot of Bellamy, and then Balome, because he's lower, and then the actual phonetic way that it's written in the game.
And he does blow a lot. Sorry, go ahead.
And would be Balam, because they have it like the same phonetic thing as for Babams onto the second syllable of his name. I've always called him Balome though, because that's what it looks like. But I've been watching a lot of people speedrun the game, and a lot of them call him Balome. Because, you fight him underground, and then underneath him there are always switches. So there's something below me. So yeah, Balam is what it looks like phonetically, but it's more. But I've always said Balome. So that's a post game fight, right? Because you got the Sage staff after beating him. You got an open weapon from Mallow. So there are a couple of other ones like that, but the Frog Sage, yeah. So he pointed you to there's game content that you haven't yet completed. So if you go back into the dojo, Jinx will be like, "Can you show me a triple move?" And you can go in there with 100%, but he's going to lower your gauge to 0. So you kind of have to have good timing to fill it up quick enough before he kills everybody on your team.
Oh.
Yeah. And then
how was I supposed to know that?
I don't know that because the Frog Sage told you to go fight Jaeger, which I didn't know that. I did that during the game. So it was just like, you might want to check on your students in Monstro Town. So I went, and after having the dojo already changed to having the M on the outside, and he's like, we've been trying to do triple techniques. Can you demonstrate them for us? So it's another fight against Jaeger to do that.
Yeah.
And then I guess, so that's the first one, I guess, because I didn't do it. Then if you go back to the Frog Sage, she'll mention the ones that are out there. But Dale, she beat the game over the holiday. Super happy that Dale actually finished Super Mario RPG. I wasn't sure if she was going to, because she's like, I really hate RPGs. But Super Mario RPG, like, it's just infectious. It gets under your skin and you kind of want to beat it. So she did it. So then she did the post-game stuff, and I'm like, hey, I don't want to, like, ruin the experience for you, but don't go talk to the Frog Sage. Let's, like, I know where they all are. Where do you think they might be based on the new wishes that you found, the purple stars? And so we made the list, and she went to them in her own order, and I can confirm, and I want to confirm.
But I'm confused how you even know what it is. Like, was something supposed to tell me when I went and got the star to go fight other bosses, I guess? Was that, like, something that was, like, explained?
So
did I just miss something?
When you go to Star Hill, if you go all the way to the end, new purple wish stars have been found.
Right, and then all that I got was then Gino said we should go talk to the Frog Sage for more information.
Right.
Which when I did, he didn't say anything about the stars. He just told me to go fight Jaeger. Yeah. So
did you listen to the stars?
Huh?
Did you read all the stars and what their wishes were? Because it's
like,
oh yeah, so that those.
How do you do that?
You walk up to them and you hit the A button. The little purple
ones. Wait, walk up to them. Where are they?
On Star Hill, on the third screen of Star Hill.
You walk into the thing of Star Hill and you pick like story wise, it makes like Gino, I think, step out and pick up a wish, and then he just says we should go talk to the Frog Sage for more information. So I literally then just opened my map and fast traveled to the Frog Sage.
No. 7 new stars have appeared on that thing that are a different color. And if you go read the wishes, like one of them is like, when are we? That's just a thing that happens. I mean, I get where you're coming from,
but how are you supposed to be led to that? It's like when it literally tells you to leave the area.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. He says like it looks like there are some new wishes here. Maybe if we talk to the Frog Sage, he'll. Yeah. So I mean, you can go look at the new wishes and read them, and then that guides you towards who the people are. So. Yeah,
Do they say on them, "Come fight me" or something like that? Because I'm also wondering if I read them and didn't understand that they were like meaningful.
So,
like, do they?
So Bellamy.
I'll have to go take another look. I'll have to go take another look at them and see what they say, because I had no idea that they were even like something that you like. There's so much flavor in this game that like I had no concept that they were like story necessary.
Well, I mean, they're not story necessary. They're post game content necessary. But yeah, still they are.
Yeah, but progress necessary. Yeah. Sorry, let's put it that way. Like,
I'm making sure. Because it's like one of them. Like specifically, since you've beaten Belome, he's like, I have a really scratchy throat. And he mentions like his whole issue. And then if you talk to other ones, like one of them says, I really wish I could be famous. One is, I really wish I could figure out how to bake this cake. So like it gives you like semi-flavor text that would direct you towards people that you fought before.
Right. But why would but does it explain that you should, like, that sounds like great references, but nothing in what you're saying says to me, oh, I should go check on those people. Like what would drive me to then go forward and like do something about that? Like,
so I guess the Frog Sage saying like go fight. Well, by all accounts, the internet says that you have to go in the order that the Frog Sage presents them to you. And because I saw in a trailer, and I'll admit that I saw it in the Super Mario RPG trailer, like that there was a Punchinello fight that you go fight the guy in Moleville again. So I'm like, oh, I'm really interested, because that always felt like kind of an interesting character that didn't have much in the game. He's just sort of an obstacle. You beat him and then it goes away. So I went to go see him after, there seemed to be new wishes. We should go talk to the Frog Sage. I went to Punchinello and I tried to fight the evolved form of Punchinello, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then after beating him, I went to the frog stage, and he's like, you should go see Belome. You should go see, and it says that. And then I've read online guides that say you have to do them in this order. So that's why with Dale, I'm like, let's not go to the frog stage. I want to see if you can kind of go to these post-game fights in any order. And we proved that you can, which actually made me really happy. I would have been bummed out if you were tied to doing them in the order that they're given to you by the
This sounds really cool. I don't think the game did a very good job at all of making sure that I knew that this is what I needed to do, because like it sounds like what they intend you to do is go to the frog stage and have him say to you, go to this person, go to that person, go to that person, which is all well and good, but I don't know if you would call it like a glitch or what. But when I went to him, he referenced a fight I just hadn't done yet, like, and so I did it, and then it was done. Like there was nothing that then popped up that said, hey, turn around, go back inside. Like nothing would have made me go back inside. And I guess I would have at some point decided to go back and talk to him. I hadn't, like I haven't to this point. Now I will go back and talk to the frog stage, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's a little thin in like pushing me, because even reading the wishes, I'll have to read them again. I don't think I would necessarily feel like, oh, I need to go and see these people to see what this is about. I would just think of it as just another good in-game referential joke about them joking about these people having wishes too. Like which is cute and all, but nothing drives me to think I would have any power to grant those wishes or do something about them.
So I think as a kid, the driving force of Super Mario RPG for me was the frog sage, Frog Fuchsius at the time.
Sure.
And it was the fact that, like, if I didn't know what to do, I would always go to him. So because we've been playing this game for almost 30 years, we don't need to do that anymore. But that is what I feel the gameplay loop was meant to be when Square first put the game together.
I don't know though, because like, I mean, you are probably right. I'm not saying that you are incorrect. I'm saying I don't know if I necessarily fell into that. The Frog Fuchsius was always fun when I was growing up, but I never really went back to him until kind of towards the end. I think there's some stuff that drives you back to him, and that's when like I got the Frog P.I, like, you know, when you go into him and get good weapons and stuff like that. And like going back to Todovsky, I probably swung up and talked to him every now and then, but I never actively found myself not sure where to go in this game, you know?
Yeah.
Like even as a kid.
I get that, but it's a thing that like the text is always like, when in doubt, go see Grandpa. Like they say that all the time in the fucking game. And then there are some moments in the original, and I don't remember I don't think any of them are blocked behind going to talk to him in the new game. But it is one of those things where you had to go talk to Frog Fuchsius in order for like Land's End to open up.
See that's what I was missing then this time around, is because like I don't remember that being forced as much as it maybe it was, and I definitely didn't feel it this time as I played through. So that explains some of that, is that like the game didn't really ever make me feel like I needed to constantly be going back to Frog Fuchsius, to the Frog Sage. Yeah. So like, why would I suddenly start doing that now? Nothing was driving me, especially when the one time it did drive me to go talk to him, he told me to go do something and I did it. And then that was kind of the end of that thread. Like there was nothing more to that. So
I would really be interested if you go back to the Frog Sage, having just done the Jaeger fight, if he still directs you to it.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting. Because, I mean, did you do Kalex? I don't know why I just said his name like that.
No, because I didn't overpower my guys this time. I ended the game on level like 21, I think, with all of my guys, and I don't go up against. I never try going up against Kalex unless I'm full on.
Which makes sense, yeah. So I mean, eventually he will tell you that you need to. There seems to be a presence here from another world that you need to go beat, and I'm just like, oh, okay, so that's that fight that I haven't done, and that was after I had done all of the other things. Because I'm like, well, I know Kalex is there, but these fights, I can get some, levels. Once I beat Punchinello, and he upgraded one of my guys' weapon to a final form, I'm like, oh, that's awesome, because he never really had a ultimate weapon like the lazy shell or the frying pan. So I like that they kind of completed that part of the game. But yeah, it's that's very interesting that the game, the Jaeger of it, that's such a weird one to point you towards. But there is definitely a post game boss there. There's a I guess fourth fight with Jinx that is activated once you defeat Smithy for the first time.
Yeah, like I hadn't done the 3 ghosts in Monstro Town either, so like I went around and I found them, right? And I did that on my own accord. I hadn't unlocked the casino, but I went ahead and I did that, right? And then I learned that they didn't have blackjack anymore, and that was sad.
Nothing costs any money now as well, which is the other thing to like be against gaming. I mean, against gambling, and I'm just like, oh, that's interesting. Because, what are you going to do? That match game's pretty easy to win, though, and you get some good stuff. I need to get the 100 wins against Great Guy so that I get the Star Egg. Because I don't know what the Star Egg does in the new game.
Oh, yeah.
If it's the same sort of animation or things like that. So I'm excited to... Not necessarily excited, but the next time I don't have anything going on... Well, I got a new Switch for my birthday, so I have to... beat Super Mario RPG again because I forgot that I didn't play it on my main account the first time. So yay, third playthrough of SMRPG. I'm also waiting for a Japanese game, Maneru no Bankuro. It's by the guys who did Legend of the Mystical Ninja starring Goemon.
Okay.
I had to import it from PlayAsia. It is not going to have any English. I'm excited to report back on that one.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear how that goes. I also, Steam does their big end of the year sale, so I was just kind of going in and kind of picking up some scraps here and there. With the announcement of a World of Goo 2 coming out, I actually remembered that I still had access to like a Humble Bundle that had World of Goo in it, the first one. Those guys that made that one, they made Little Inferno, and they made what's the one where you put together a bunch of like processing like stuff. It basically teaches you computer programming. I forget what the name of that one is, but those guys do a hell of a game, right? What the name of it is? I want the name of the company.
I don't know that one. I'm sorry. Those are all games that I have never touched, and I feel a little bad about it because of the excitement of World of Goo 2. But that's just...
2D Boy is the name of the company that does those games. And they're phenomenal. Human Resource Machine is the one that I was thinking of. Oh, that's right. They've also got another one called 7 Billion Humans. But Human Resource Machine is fucking nuts. It was actually one of the first games we ever had on the Switch, I believe, because it was a really good handheld game. But essentially, you work your way up a building, right, floor to floor, and every floor is a different puzzle, and you're sent. You stand in a room and boxes come in that have numbers or equation pieces on them, right? And so you can like put together like sequences and equations on the floor out of the boxes, and then you have to hit like certain numbers or certain sequences, and like it starts to do things like repeat on itself, or how to make a loop, and then how to end that loop, or how to make it count all the boxes that say 1 through 10 minus 8 and 2, right? Like, oh, okay, we needed to be able to count all of these boxes minus these other boxes. Like, it's a really, really wild game. But I went back to World of Goo, which is one of the first games that they ever put out, and because they announced World of Goo 2, and I forgot how crazy that of a puzzle game that is. Like, there's some wild stuff in that one about like the physics, basically. Like, the big thing about that game that I remember being in awe of when it first came out was the physics of the whole thing, and it's wild replaying it. I honestly haven't touched it in years. Like I said, I got it on PC on a Humble Bundle like at some point, and never even unpacked that Humble Bundle.
Yeah, that's why I don't mess with Humble Bundle, because I know that. The only one I've bought is Metroidvanias, and I have played exactly 0 of the 6 Metroidvanias that I bought in that Humble Bundle. And I had a bunch of games I was going to get on the Steam Winter Sale, and then I forgot before it ended.
I also snagged Half Genie Hero. Shantae was one of the ones that I hadn't played yet, and I've been playing that one for on and off. It's a really fun game, but I find that I can't really play it for more than like 15 or 20 minutes. After about 20 minutes, I'm pretty full up, and then like I'll walk away from it, but I'll find myself coming back to it like 2 or 3 hours later and playing another 20 minutes. So I've been having fun playing through it, but I just haven't had like a really good like sit down session with it yet.
God, that game came out like a year into this show. Like, we did a Shantae thing based on the 3 games that were available, the original Risky's Revenge and Pirate Curse. And then Half Genie Hero came out the next Christmas. That game's 5 years old at this point, which is just insane. And you're going to get the bonus of like the risky stuff. I'm sure you got like an ultimate edition of it, right? With all the downloads and stuff.
Yeah, so, there was like for $5 you could get the base game, and then they were running some special where with the DLC, I think what it is that they were Steam wasn't separating out like all of the DLCs plus the season pass. So at first, it looked like if you were going to buy the game with everything, it was going to be this like kind of larger amount of money than I was willing to spend. But when I looked at the list again, I was like, wait a minute, the Ultimate Edition is included in all of the DLC listing, and that must include all the other DLCs. So I looked it up, and sure enough, the Ultimate Edition also included that. I can't imagine, like, I'm sure that at some point in the checkout process, Steam would have been like, hey, this is actually included in all the don't spend your money, because they're pretty good at that stuff usually.
They're pretty good about that,
But on the store page, it wasn't breaking it down that way. So I wasn't going to get the Ultimate Edition at first until I did get the Ultimate, and then I realized how much cheaper that one was, and I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm just going to get that. So yes, I did end up with it, but the store page was a little wonky.
I did not kickstart that game, but I did buy it when it went to Weird Retail, and that was like early days of digital stuff going as part of it. So I bought a physical copy of the game that included a digital copy of the game, and then I sold back the physical copy of it. And now I've since bought an Ultimate Edition for the PS5 because I didn't have a copy of the PS5 version of it. But I do remember that being like, oh, I got this game from Amazon, and then I sold it back to Amazon for like $5 loss. But I still had the game. And like, that was weird to me at the time. And then to just like think back to, that was 5 years ago.
Yeah. I also snagged old school like original Peggle and Peggle Knights were on sale for like $2 a piece.
Cool. That's very cool. Yeah.
So like I just dove into some like smaller games like that I, like I said, just kind of filling in the gaps.
I'm probably going to grab Prison City. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm kind of like sitting on my hands until my crazy Japanese game comes, and then I'll probably want to play some like small in English games to recalibrate my brain a little bit. But the Prison City...
At this point, I'm just waiting on Paper Mario for me. Like that's I've come to realize that. But yeah.
Well, Madam Web Day also is Mario versus Donkey Kong Remake Day, and I'm super excited to play that one on the Switch. I love... It's not Donkey Kong 94, which is the best game in that entire series, but it is a pretty solid follow-up. And to be able to play it on an actual screen and not just my Game Boy, I'm very excited to do that. So I'm there. But Prison City, come to find out, that guy also is working on a game called The Transylvania Adventure of Simon Quest. That is a parody of Castlevania 2.
Yeah,
and I'm going to say that I spent 4 hours playing the demo yesterday, just trying to break and find everything in it. I'm missing one sub-weapon upgrade, but I found like the hidden boss and all this other stuff. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, like what kind of... Is it love letter to that sort of stuff, or is it really like digging into it? Is it funny? Is it serious? But it just definitely is like... But like what's the vibe on that game?
So I thought that it was just like a slant remake of Castlevania 2. That is what it felt like to me when I was playing it. And then when I after I completed the demo and did everything, I read the README, and he's all like, legally it's fine because it's technically parody. You're not Simon Belmont, you're Simon Quest. And the whole point of Castlevania 2 is like Dracula's presence is still being felt, so you have to collect the 5 pieces of him to resurrect him to kill him for reals this time. But the storyline of The Transylvania Adventure of Simon Quest is he came to Transylvania to destroy Dracula, but Stan Helsing had already done that. So now he's going to resurrect Dracula so he can kill Dracula and get all the accolades for killing Dracula for real.
Are we okay with the fact that they're referencing Stan Helsing?
You know what? I that's not for me to question. It was a bit of a moment where I'm like, I mean, you could have just called him Van Helsing and I think it would have been fine. But okay, like parody on top of parody, kinda. Maybe you're going to get in trouble there for that one. But
well, especially invoking that movie didn't make any money. It's not like they could come after him.
yeah, exactly. But it's one of those situations where it plays just like Castlevania 2, but with tighter controls, better checkpoint management. You don't have lives until you enter the mansions, which is fucking brilliant. Like, you can walk around on the main map and die as many times as you want to without any consequences. So, like, you're actually learning as you play. And, like, checkpoints are not every single screen. So, like, you might have to go back 3 screens, but hopefully you now know how to get through them faster.
Yeah,
like, it's very cool. It's a very interesting thing of it. There's a card matching game that I was committed to try to win at the highest level. And in so doing, I maxed out my money, which meant I just bought out the store and made things a little bit easier for myself. I'm not going to lie to you, Mr. Sejohn, but I had a blast playing the game and it's just a demo. So like I journeyed all the way to one town and it's like, hey mate, thanks for playing the demo, but if I let you see the town of Lugosi, it will ruin it for the actual release. And then, hey friend, thanks for playing the demo. Appreciate you. You can't see the town of Bella or it will ruin it for the actual release.
Nice.
And I'm like, that's clever, Bella Lugosi. I see what you did there, program answer. Let's like program and answer portmanteau. So that's what I've been doing. Like, I don't want to commit to any games. Though I also want to... Dead Space 2013 is on Game Pass. And before that expires, like, I'm not going to keep it going. Like, $20...
Dead Space 2023, you mean?
Yeah, what did I say?
2013. I was
2023. Yeah, no, the new one. It is on Game Pass. We had a little discussion about that. I'd like to try to play through it before my account expires on the 18th of January. So that's probably where I'm going to go after we finish recording today, is go play that. So
yeah,
that's me. That's what my game is
vicious, man.
Excellent. Because I don't want to watch football. I'm like footballed out. I will be completely honest with you. So while the family watches football, I'll play survival horror in space. There's one other thing that I want to talk about, but I mean, I think that we've dumped a lot into this episode so far, but is there anything else you want to make sure we talk about in our first recorded episode in 2024? First episode recorded in 2024?
No, let's wrap this one up. What you got?
Right, so, Magnum P.I. has come to an inauspicious end. It was supposed to have been renewed by NBC for 2 seasons, but the strike knocked that down to just 1. And it's going to be an interesting case study in the fact that they clearly thought they were going to have another season. They've had writers and directors and creators of that show in all sorts of interviews saying, we feel like it ended in a satisfying way, but we left the door open had we gotten another season. Not like, I guess not remembering or wanting us to forget that there's a big article about how NBC has saved it for 2 more seasons, 2 more 20-episode seasons.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're trying to peel it off as, no, we meant like 2 10-episode seasons. Oh, but you still call it season 5 and it has 20 episodes. You're not getting one past Devon Decker. And they clearly set up so many things that were going to be the driving force of season 6 that, like, no, those were just like little breadcrumbs if we got picked up. And it's like, no, you guys kind of got screwed over. And I wanted to mention that. But also, since NBC is the only game in town that is doing new, like, scripted content right now, not counting streaming services or anything like that, but ABC is not coming back until February. CBS is not coming back till February. They are really leaning into after Super Bowl Sunday this year. NBC has come back with Night Court. Night Court got a 2nd season, and they did my favorite thing. I don't shut up about it on this show. They pulled a Superstore and did an episode that must exist out of space and time because the season finale of Night Court season 1 was Dan as a judge in Louisiana running into Marsha Warfield's Roz as a defendant. And he was the judge, nice. Which was excellent. And it was a great way to end it. But then they did a Christmas episode on the 23rd of December. And Dan is back in New York. The clerk, Neil, is gone. and all these other things. And I'm like, well, that's weird, right? And then the first official episode of season 2 aired this past January 3rd, and it was Roz in front of Dan, and that is where the story went from. So, like, that was a fun Christmas episode that, like, meant nothing in the grand scheme of things. I guess
we give a lot of shit to Superstore because that did happen with the Olympics episode and things like that, right? But I was also reminded this week of that time that Fringe did this, where an episode that was clearly supposed to be in season 1 appeared like halfway through season 2, to the point where there are characters in the episode alive that have not been alive for a long time. And people and because it was Fringe, people spent the first couple of days after the episode had aired trying to justify that maybe it was weird sciencey bullshit and not that they had fucked up and put out an episode that featured people in it that were no longer living in the timeline of Fringe.
Yeah. So I remember that. And that's like the beauty of what Fringe did, right? I imagine that's where a lot of the multiversal stuff that has happened in television afterwards comes from. Like Rick and Morty, and not necessarily always being the same Rick and Morty. But yeah, it was kind of disappointing that, like, man, NBC, learn your lesson. Like, don't do this.
I mean, well, all they're learning is that people talk about them and the episodes get watched. So I don't know what more you want from them.
Well, I mean, like, the other one was the Mr. Mayor one, where they're like, they called it an episode of season 1, and then it was technically, like, production-wise, the first episode of season 2. So it was in this weird limbo where you couldn't purchase it anywhere because you had already bought season 1, and so it was not included in it. And season 2, it was not technically a part of. Like, that was a weird thing for a while there. But that's it. But the other show, and we're not talking about it yet because there hasn't been 4 episodes, is Extended Family with Jon Cryer. And I'm just going to tell you the elevator pitch. The show was really bothering me. The pilot was terrible. The pilot was absolutely terrible. But it was like that kind of stuff where, like, oh, we put this stuff in because it's the pilot. We'll be able to rework it and get rid of it, however things may go. So I'm like, well, I have to watch the second episode to see which threads they carried forward on. And the second episode raised even further questions. But this is the show where Donald Faison, Turk from Scrubs, that was for Will, owns the Boston Celtics. That's the character he's playing, is owner of the Boston Celtics.
Wow.
So yeah,
I mean, like, there's ridiculous, like, sitcom jobs. That's a whole other level.
That's a whole other level. And I cannot wait for 2 more episodes so I can finally 4-episode test this motherfucker and talk about it on the show. But after 2 episodes, the problems that I have with Extended Family, let's just say, is a pretty extensive list. But yeah.
Okay.
But no. One other thing, because Donald Faison is the owner of the Boston Celtics, he hung out with the owner of the Boston Celtics to learn more for the character. So, like, it's not just like they randomly wrote it. The Celtics are on board for it.
This is fucking wild, though, because, like, it's not like, oh, I wanted to learn more about, like, what life was like, being a doctor, so I stayed in a hospital for 2 days to kind of just watch, like, I wanted to see what it was like to be this rich dude who probably doesn't pay much attention to his job, okay?
So he hung out, because that's, like, the way I found out about it. Like, I was already kind of excited for Extended Family because it feels like Jon Cryer's anger management. And those are the words I said, and deal with it. And in 2 episodes, I'll listen.
Jon Cryer's The Ranch.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll talk about it once 4 episodes have aired. But I just, after the first 2, questions. But then, like, I was excited just because it's Jon Cryer again. And then my father is like, oh, look, Donald Faison's at the Celtics game. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. He's like, yeah, he's been hanging out with the owner of the Boston Celtics because that's what he does in that new show with Jon Cryer. And I'm like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? But then lo and behold, he was right. So that's TV that we are. I mean, we're going to have Echo. We're going to have stuff to talk about. But all in all, for, like, the first report of 2024, I think that this was pretty solid. Next
ourselves on the back.
Yeah, that's it. It should be fun. And then we got some big stuff coming, but we'll talk about that next week. Again, if you want to be caught up with us, I am going to make sure Sejohn reads the first issue of the 3rd volume of Spider-Woman that released in 1999. You can do that too. It's out there. It's not that hard to find. Yeah, if you have anything to say to us, the Discord, I still haven't set it up because of the tooth issues. It'll be done by the end of this month. That's a arbitrary deadline I gave myself that I will make sure happens. But still, the best way is via email. So thesayReport@gmail.com. And again, if it's for myself, make sure it says Devon in the subject line. Or if you want me to file it over to Sejohn, make sure it says Sejohn in the subject line. Any final words of wisdom, Sejohn?
Whatever resolutions you had, you've already broke them. And that's okay. I want you to feel okay about that.
Yeah. Live your life for your own happiness, not for the happiness of anybody else. With that, Will, please bring us home.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devon Decker and Sejohn Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.